postgraduate program in blockchain technology and management that Amity University Online has developed with leading experts. And just to know, introduce Mr. Srinivas here. Mr. Srinivas is a alumnus of IIT Madras, and I'm in Bangalore. He has worked for around 25 years at leadership roles across MNCs in India. So I'll not waste much of the time here. And Mr. Srinivas, it would be really great if you can just give a quick introduction of yourself, and then maybe we can start the presentation on the blockchain.
Okay, so are we starting now? Yes,
yes, sir, we are live.
The participants are online?
Yes, sir, they are online. We can start.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Srinivas. I've done my BTech from IIT Madras, passed out in 88, and MBA from IIM Bangalore, passed out in 90. And I have over 27 years of corporate experience at various levels. I have been at CXO levels in IT organizations for more than 7 years. I was MD of an IT company, as well as I was Chief Information Officer of Apollo Solutions, which is a 1,000 crores transnational logistics entity. And I've also been working as a business development head for their IT venture, namely Wi-Fi Technologies, wherein I had an opportunity to interact with a lot of corporate clients and get exposure to the cutting edge technologies that corporates are using. And as a part of CIO, I was always on the other side. But as a part of the business development, I also had an opportunity to interact with a lot of customers. That is where I got in, close, understanding of blockchain technologies, because we were working with some US clients, and we worked in a lot of projects, and I developed a deep passion in blockchain. As many of my friends who have been into blockchain, they talk about blockchain as something which, once they start working on it, it is difficult for them to, work on any other technology. For example, just like even, if you talk about Apple, computer, if you use Apple operating system, it is difficult for you to get back and start working and getting used to any other operating system. In the same way that blockchain, I found so many people who have been working in blockchain. Once they start working, they get so much passionate about it. And it's not for nothing, because it combines a lot of advanced technologies, and the utility that blockchain offers, it's humongous. And I will take you through a short presentation, which will which will outline various aspects of blockchain, but not so much in detail as of now, because the time is very short. Let me jump into this presentation right away, so that we will give you a brief idea about what is blockchain about, and what are the opportunities that are there in the blockchain arena today. And then we will take questions from all the attendees, and see what best we can do to attend to those things right now. Shall I share the presentation as of now?
Yes, Mr. Srinivas, we can start the presentation now.
Yeah, I shared the screen.
Sure.
You're able to see the screen?
No, sir, not right now. You can just share your screen. It's a small green button at the bottom.
1 second. Huh? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. This is a different presentation. Security. 1 second. Fine. You're able to see the blockchain overview presentation?
No, not right. Yes, we can. Blockchain overview presentation. We can start, sir.
Yeah. Okay. As per many surveys and studies that have been done recently, and a number of reports that have been published, one I'm quoting Pricewaterhouse report, which has been published some time back. It says blockchain is one of the 8 essential technologies that is really very much in vogue today. And these are the cutting edge technologies that are shaping the way we look at things, we work, and we manage things in the future. And among the other technologies, we have things like drones, Internet of Things, robots, 3D printing, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and also, of course, you must have heard about big data and data analytics. So they are all, of course, offshoot of things like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. All these things, they are coming together, and then we are the world is rapidly reshaping itself to become totally technology powered, and then perhaps automated as well. Uh, uh, as well as the technologies that the internet technologies started in 1990, around 1990, which was where World Wide Web was dedicated to the world. From then onwards, it has we experienced Web 1.0, which was essentially transmitting information through the internet, and then came Web 2.0 technologies, where there were user-generated data and a lot of to and fro of data. You can also read and write as well. It has given rise to a lot of data explosion. A lot of big companies that some of them I'm showing on the screen right now, including Facebook. All of them have started and they become huge. And then we have seen Web 3.0, wherein artificial intelligence and semantic web has taken shape, which is allowing us to interact one-on-one while intelligently, they're able to adapt to the behavior of users as well. But what has happened is, as these technologies grew more and more, there was a time when the e-commerce started, people were not actually interacting with e-commerce companies and not doing their purchases. But over a period of time, once the IPIN was introduced, people got more and more comfort. They started doing commercial transactions, and the e-commerce, took off in a boom. And then there's so much of data explosion because of all these things that has taken place on that as well. And then there was a point in time when you and I would perhaps deal in on any e-commerce site, only we trust the company behind that, who is, for example, Amazon, Flipkart. These are the companies which manage to gain the trust of the users. And only if you have trust, perhaps then you would share the data with them. And these companies which have actually managed to garner the trust of billions and billions of users across different applications, they grew bigger and bigger, and they have gathered a lot of data, and the data that has been generated led to the fields like artificial intelligence, machine learning taking shape. And with that, they were able to predict the user behavior and also manipulate it and manage it. And then they were able to grow, bigger, and this has led to some sort of a skew wherein we had huge number of, across the domains, huge companies which were actually controlling, monopolizing the sort of business in the domain, and also having so much of data about all the users that it has become like, they say that information is power, right? But what happens is the power, when it gets too much, okay, it could actually have bad annotations. For example, recently you must have heard about data, being hacked out of Facebook, and it was used for manipulating US elections by some analytical companies called Cambridge Analytica. So like that, what would happen is, apart from these companies using this data for their own purposes to improve their businesses and gain complete control of their customers, they also started becoming vulnerable to these attacks of third parties or third party applications that are running on them, or perhaps even the malware and cyber attackers who have huge incentive to attack these large organizations, because once they're able to attack all these large organizations, they can get so much of data, and then they will able to, even they're able to hold these companies to ransom, because you must have heard about ransomware attacks, wherein, if your data is attacked by a malware attacker through a ransomware, unless you pay ransom, he will not be able to release it. And this sort of attacks became more and more, and any number of across industries, every leading organization, the #1 organization across domains, including the world's largest company called Aramco, which is a more than $3 trillion Arabian oil company, that was also badly attacked by the cyber attackers. And then we realized this importance of the increasing problem we are facing with malware attackers, because they are having it is a huge incentive for them to attack when the data is very huge and very valuable. Okay, and if it is a single point of failure for organizations, And another important trend that is happening, apart from the internet connections that the normal human beings are today experiencing, is the penetration of Internet of Things, wherein for every human being there will be more than 8 to 10 devices that will be connected in another 3 or 4 years, wherein the number of internet connections that are going to be on the across the world will be more than 50 billion devices, internet connections. So you can imagine the amount of data that is going to flow. And essentially this, at the current scheme of things, this IoT data, all these various devices are connected and managed to central servers, which are once again vulnerable to malware attacks. And in October 2016, some of these devices were attacked by a malware perpetrator. And there is something called a denial of distributed service attack that has happened, wherein some of these devices, about 1 million, 1 lakh, only 1 lakh devices, while there are billions of devices, only 1 lakh devices were used, and they were hacked, and the traffic from that was flooded onto number of sites like Twitter, Netflix, New York Times, and wherein they were faced with so much of traffic which they were not able to handle. This has led to crash of a number of sites, and a lot of millions of addresses went out. And then there was a complete chaos in the internet space. So only when 1 lakh internet devices were attacked by this malware penetrators, you can imagine the amount of chaos that was caused. So as we keep on experiencing more and more and more internet connections, the risks that are being faced by this world are growing manifold, wherein it becomes unmanageable and humongously attractive for this cyber warriors to create more and more malicious softwares, and we hold the world to ransom, because in future most of our activities will be done digitally. Most of the things will be automated. So we will be stopping to do a lot of things which we are using physically, like manual ledgers or writing on books. All these things will be stopped, and everything will be done digitally. And if these things are managed to centralized organizations, central servers, and with huge amount of data that is flowing, the risks that are faced by the world are huge, and the incentive for the malware attackers are huge if they're able to compromise this centralized systems. Traditionally, in today's businesses, the databases are managed in a central place, wherein across there'll be a master database for organization. Even they are using big data solutions, still the entire command, though there will be replication by a factor of 2 or 3 for a lot of important data, but there is a centralized command that actually manages all this information. Now, with the problems that are taking place currently with the issue of Facebook, or with the DDoS attacks, increasing number of malware attacks, the trust of human beings in dealing with large organizations, centralized organizations which hold the entire power. Because suppose what would happen if the entire data that is present in Facebook is hacked, or the management of Facebook changes to some other management which is much more commercial, and which actually does not stand true to all the promises, commitments Facebook has made in collecting all the information. Perhaps if they start distributing the data to competitors, different people who can perhaps use it for their own marketing, or it falls into wrong hands, the risk that all the people who are actually clients of Facebook or this sort of centralized organization is very huge. So that's where the once upon a time when we started e-commerce, we said we will deal with people who are trustworthy, organizations which are trustworthy. But now the same thing is turning, that we are afraid of these people who are so powerful because they have so much of information about us. And these are leading to this single point of failure sort of things which are staring at all of us, with the increasing digitalization and automation of all the various facets of our life. That's where the concept of distributed systems takes shape, wherein centralized systems, they can be either the next level of decentralization is there are the data is actually managed in different places, and then there are there are different these parts which are actually built around this different centralized organizations. Or for example, in an organization you have branches, or in a world you have UNO, plus we have different countries. Instead of all the information in one place, you have different entities managing the information pertaining to them, and perhaps there could be some connecting way of sharing this information. Or another extreme approach is to have distributed ledger, wherein everybody interacts with each other and all of them carry the information of the information that is relevant to them, and perhaps all the information if it's possible. So there is no single point of failure at all. But there are other issues that could be coming up about this. Suppose if you have to carry all the information and everybody perhaps these small entities, they also become vulnerable. So in which case there is also a danger of these individuals being hacked. So how do you protect that information? So for that, we can use a lot of cryptographic techniques to protect the data. So the data and the person to whom the data is linked, they can be dealing through anonymous identities, pseudonymous identities. That is how the Bitcoin blockchain came about in 2009. A paper was published in 2008 October, talking about a system wherein people can exchange value pseudonymously without any fear, and in a way in which double spending can be avoided, because till that time a lot of works were going on in the world, a lot of research was going on as how we can actually exchange data, create data on the net, and also exchange in such a way that there is no duplication. Because actually till then, if you are able to have one file in file of you are having 10 units in a file digitally, you can actually technically send the 10 units to hundreds of people at the same time. That's called a double spending problem. That was a big problem that was actually refraining the entire world from leveraging sharing anything on the internet in a safe and secure manner. But that was cracked through by a person called supposedly called as Satoshi Nakamoto, when he published his white paper, and then he launched on January 3rd, 2009. The Bitcoin blockchain was launched. Actually, the blockchain is a technology which actually it is a framework to facilitate secure, decentralized, peer-to-peer value transfer in immutable manner. Just like how we have electricity as one form of a technology, and then we have a bulb, which is actually a use case. Like Bitcoin is one such use case of this blockchain phenomena, which is actually a framework that allows entities to transfer amongst to deal with each other in a safe and secure manner, so that the data that is on the chain, that is stored on the chain, is absolutely safe and secure. So this is done through a combination of number of technologies that leverages programming, that leverages mathematics, that leverages cryptography, that is leverages any computer program. All sorts of technologies come together, and then this was made possible. And then that was the start of this entire blockchain phenomena, which actually it's like a paradigm shift for the entire world has witnessed. And right now people are talking about blockchain being the next internet. Okay, so just like now today we are in the same place in blockchain wherein world was at 1995. Okay, as far as internet was concerned. Okay, a lot of developments are taking place, but they're developing at a very, very fast pace, because the number of things that are actually, number of trends which are coming together to make this possible. Because today we are very much, the entire world is moving towards open source software, wherein most of the technology, anything, any development can be done, can be easily be done by accessing a lot of code or platforms that are available in open source without any cost. And then we have this crowdsourced cloud computing, wherein people pay as you use. You don't have to, once upon a time, for if you want to start doing a development, you have to invest in huge amount of technological infrastructure. You have to develop, you have to invest in mainframes, etc. But today you can pay as you, because of the cloud computing, you can just buy your own one ways. Even that also you can take it on lease, or you can any sort of service you can pay as you use. Okay, this sort of this trend is making it very, very easy for anybody in any world citizen who is interested and passionate about doing anything to start off with things and go on. So the technological developments is much easier today than what it was about 10-15 years back. Then another trend that is happening is from centralized to decentralized. People have started losing their trust in this large centralized entities. Even people won't trust their governments. employees won't trust their HR departments with all their personal information, because what would happen if they, after they leave, whether that information with the HR department, whatever 360 degrees information they have, what would happen? Are they going to misuse it? Or people are not happy with the banks containing all their information, because if bank gets hacked and if the information gets manipulated by any cyber criminal, tomorrow your entire bank balance may start reflecting a zero. So these sort of various threats, actually, some of them rightly so, have started influencing the people all over the world. And these three trends of this open source software, and then pay as you use, as well as decentralization, they are adding fuel to the fear and fire. And then we are now seeing the major trend in the form of this blockchain, which combines all these various elements, and leveraging all these things. It is growing faster and faster. And it's like how, Bitcoin is, I would describe Bitcoin like the big bang of economic world. When it started, it was very small, nothing happened for 3-4 years, but slowly as it gathers speed, now more and more companies, now it's almost coming into mainstream life, with almost all the leading companies in the world now having their own strategies for blockchain, have their own contribution, whether you start taking from Google or Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, Amazon. Everybody is now offering something or the other connected with the blockchain, whether it is a language, programming languages, or whether it's a platform, whether it's a cloud, whether blockchain as a service. All the top companies in the world, and recently Apple co-founder Wozniak is also was telling the world that Ethereum could be the next Apple, right? So he's also linking his Apple to the blockchain technology. So now the blockchain is now more or less coming into mainstream, though there were a lot of reservations about blockchain, because it was always seen as anti-establishment. And because Bitcoin actually doesn't, it is not regulated by any entity in the world. It is born to take on the centralized systems of the world, including governments and RBI, etc. So it faced a lot of opposition. Even now, they face a lot of opposition by a lot of governments. But still, the rate at which they have been growing recently, I think there are a number of reports that say that blockchain is now the hottest technology. And even in terms of jobs, blockchain, there is a huge shortage of manpower, where people who are experienced and having knowledge about blockchain are able to take up development or architect solution in blockchain. So blockchain basically now it eliminates this third-party transaction, which is actually coming to work through this Bitcoin, supposedly by a person named Satoshi Nakamoto. And then there is a decentralized database. The database of all the entire ledger is carried with all, is actually can be carried by all the participants. And hacking is impossible because of the various cryptographic technologies that are used to manage the data. So even somebody were to hack, what would happen is he will not be able to link the person unless it is a government or somebody which is hell-bent on doing and finding it out to map the IPs and all that. Otherwise, it is impossible to link the data to the identities, as well as since the data is carried by all the participants. Even if somebody were to hack, he could not do anything with the data, because the data can be easily replicated, and he would not be able to change the data in the system. Of course, technically it is possible, but the conditions are such that it is almost improbable to manage the ledger in the blockchain. So it is hence this entire whatever is there in the blockchain is taken as highly reliable, and now you can do value transfers. Bitcoin is basically, and of course there are a number of coins that have come up with various variations of Bitcoin that will facilitate value transfer in a secure and reliable manner. And there have been not many occasions, maybe perhaps except 1 or 2 occasions which were managed, there have been no occasions wherein the Bitcoin blockchain has been compromised, though the supporting paraphernalia perhaps has been managed, and a lot of security security systems have to be still put in place. But the blockchain has not been compromised as of now. That's where there is a lot of trust the Bitcoin blockchain has in the minds of people for doing their transactions, or storing their data, or conducting a lot of even for governments and a number of entities, NGOs, to manage the data and store it in the blockchain in the form of hashes, etc., as a proof, irrefutable proof. So what are the key drivers of blockchain? As we have seen that the growing set of fake, spurious, and cheap imitations across product verticals, Actually, even US, they have in pharmaceutical domain, they have actually enacted a legislation wherein by 2020, every pharmaceutical product that is bought in any shop, that should be traced back to the manufacturer. Otherwise, they will not be able to sell it. Even they were able to sell it, people won't buy it because uh, uh, they will be afraid that this is actually not the not the item manufactured in the plant, but perhaps it has been replaced by some fake manufacturer. So it is possible to actually track the any goods, not only pharmaceutical, any manufactured product or even farm produce to the source from the origin. For example, in food processing, you can actually track from farm to the fork. Okay, so this is possible to track by maintaining the entire trail of transactions in the blockchain in an immutable manner, in a reliable manner. So blockchain is a big solution for this growing threat of fakes. Lack of trust among growing base of transaction partners. We have seen people are shocked now, are circumspect about putting all the information in centralized entities. Your Yahoo Mail could be hacked, Google could be hacked, Microsoft could be hacked. All these companies, Facebook can be hacked. So they're afraid of, sharing all their information, and perhaps even banks, they also could be hacked. Then even Citibank, most of the almost any entity which is the leader in their field has been subject to cyber attacks in the past 2-3 years. So there is the risks that are going because of the incentives for cyber attackers with a growing digitization, growing amount of data, and growing amount of ransom perhaps they could earn. So problems due to centralization, need for manifold increase of processing power, and cyber espionage and risk with multifold increase in internet connections due to IoT proliferation as well. So IoTs, they are expected to grow manifold in the next 3 to 4 years. That is going to put a huge huge pressure on the existing infrastructure in the system as far as processing power is concerned. So there will be centralized entities. Once again, they become single point of failure, wherein if they get hacked, what could happen? So there a lot of protection has to be put in place. So all these trends actually are finding their solution in this blockchain technology, perhaps. And the blockchain technology, as it evolved, there are three phases which we have witnessed so far, just like how we had Web 1.20, 2.0, 3.0, which we discussed in the beginning. Blockchain started as a Bitcoin, which was essentially value transfer in the form of cryptocurrency. Later on, about 2013-14, then Ethereum came about, which actually managed to upgrade the Bitcoin blockchain program to also handle a smart contract-based programs, wherein any sort of real-world application can actually be managed and implemented on blockchain. So it is possible to replicate any organization today, what you see in the real world, whether it is Facebook or Amazon, etc., and then conduct similar business onto blockchain with a P2P version, wherein peer-to-peer exchange of information can take place, while the central entity which manages this could be a program. So it is programmatically driven, so that there is no third entity actually will be able to come to know about this information. Now, it started growing very fast. Ethereum has led to a huge wave of entrepreneurship as well. And it led to this phenomena called ICOs and tokens, wherein people were able to, launch their own shares on the digitized version of shares. They are called tokens through what is called initial coin offerings, which are actually a blockchain version of IPOs, initial public offering in the real world. And thousands and thousands of businesses have come about, and in the last during this year, more than $2 billion worth of cryptocurrencies have been raised by a number of businesses which are actually aiming to conduct their
Professor Srinivas?
Yeah.
So what we will do, we'll divide this session into two parts. So we have been receiving some queries, right? And then let's take on some queries and questions from the students as well, right, sir?
Okay, so after this slide, or
sir, we can just after this slide, you can stop the screen sharing, and we'll start with the question round. Yes?
Yeah.
Sure.
So as Ethereum gaining shape, and then number of large organizations like IBM, Linux Foundation, they got in, and they said, why not we leverage the technology of blockchain for enterprises? So why only for cryptocurrency or token-led sort of businesses? So That's where enterprise software has come in vogue, wherein the technology of blockchain is now being used by a lot of organizations, enterprises, NGOs, governments to dramatically increase their process efficiencies through smart contracts. They're relooking at their processes, replacing them with programs, and a lot of collaboration is taking place that is drastically cutting down the the costs as well as increasing automation and leading to a lot of efficiencies. So this is a growing trend as of now, and that's where we are. And then we are more and more participants using blockchain. Now we are also seeing another trend wherein number of participants who are on different blockchains, they have to interact with each other. So we are now witnessing launch of platforms by companies like Microsoft and certain other independent entities, wherein they are enabling the blockchains to communicate with each other. Perhaps that would be called blockchain 4.0. That is also started taking shape. Now we can take some questions.
Sure, sir. You can stop the screen share. Okay. So, thank you. It was actually very enriching to understand about blockchain and its initial implication and the evolution journey. And
Yes.
we have shared the demo access also with the students, which they will be learn more from you there. Right?
Okay.
So there's some questions that are coming up. Is as you said, companies have control of our data and may decide to share it with others. What would stop a blockchain-enabled company to do the same? It's a very interesting question.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Actually, that's what would happen is in the blockchain world, there is a no once the company is not the data is not managed by a central person or a human represented organization. It is actually done programmatically driven. The assurance is given that no third party will be knowing the information. So it will be actually, there are two types of blockchains we have. One is a public blockchain, then is a private blockchain. Okay, public blockchain, for example, you have Bitcoin or we have Ethereum. Okay, like that, there are a number of them. In the public blockchain, if you want to know who is owning, who is actually getting all this information of all the people, there is nobody. So it is programmatically driven. So there is nobody who owns the information, even to share it with others. Okay. In private blockchain is a different case. Private blockchain, there are again different types of private blockchains, wherein it could be a consortium blockchain where number of companies have come together and formed, or wherein the promoter-led blockchain, wherein somebody has promoted and then he has enrolled a lot of participants with certain commitments what they have given, and to basically improve their processes efficiencies, and wherein they identify which are the information that can be shared and which are the information that cannot be shared and kept. Okay, so in such a case, only the information that can be shared, that is actually in the public domain, cannot be shared. That is only between the parties who are doing the transaction. So that information, even if you want to share it with not to third party, it is not possible. Okay, so there are a number of safeguards that are there, which will actually ensure that only the people who are supposed to get the information get it.
Sure, sir. So the next next question that is coming in is what kind of skills are required in this program? Like, do the participants need programming skills on what all tracks? If you can mention in brief, sir.
Yeah. So actually, blockchain is actually combines a number of technologies. It is evolved from, of course, cryptography, mathematics, information technology, programming, etc. Okay, but it is the sort of skills that are required are very similar to what you would perhaps have been used to in the traditional IT world. Okay, it is nothing. You don't require any new skills, but it's a way of doing things. You should be actually thorough. We should first of all get it clear as to why you need blockchain. So there are two types of skills that would be invoked. Perhaps one is architecting a blockchain solution, wherein you need to understand the particular problem for which you want to develop a solution, whether it is a blockchain based solution or some other based solution, okay, some other database oriented solution. So if it is a blockchain based solution, then you should understand what all blockchain platforms are available, which will be very much suited for this, because there are different types of platforms which are actually suitable for different types of applications. So you should be able to understand. So all these various platforms, their nuances. So for this, you need to study these various platforms in at least the leading platforms in all in their entirety, and then should be familiar with them. And in terms of development, you should be able to do. Developers should know the languages which are actually specific to blockchain, like Solidity and Golang, etc. But a lot of things nowadays, even if you know JavaScript, Golang, Java, and Node.js, of course, these are fundamental. These languages, if you know, then it is very easy for you to pick up the languages like Solidity and chain code, etc., which are actually used in blockchain for blockchain programming. So I would say that it is a different way of doing things, but that sort of skills that take from that take their base from whatever people have been used to in the traditional IT world.
Sure, sir. So the next question, thank you for that. The next question that is coming in, like some people and our participants are from tech backgrounds, some are from non-tech backgrounds.
Yes.
So they are posting their degrees, which I see are primarily non-tech and tech both. So
Yes.
is it something that in both of their profiles can learn blockchain, or is it just that it is only relevant for people in technology sector?
No, I would say that it wouldn't matter much, because even in the traditional IT world, you have people, the people who have been doing IT, 90% of the people are non-computer science background people. Okay, for example, even Wipro has a course wherein only non-technology people, only people who have done BA, BSc, etc. Those people they will take and train them for technologies and then technology jobs. So it is not a must as far as for blockchain is concerned to have a strong technology background. Perhaps that could help a little bit understanding faster the various terms like this cryptography and
Yeah.
all these things. But otherwise, these things can be made up very very fast with of course a lot of dedication and passion.
So to summarize, anybody from any field can actually learn blockchain.
Yes,
It's more about how passionate you are to get into the depth of the subject, right?
exactly.
So we in our sir, PGP blockchain technology and management, we are also seeing many people from non-tech are also opting for the program and
Correct.
as an architect. So yes,
Yes,
I mean if you are a tech professional or a non-tech professional, it doesn't matter.
yes,
So now, sir, the next question that is coming in, some people are from marketing, some people are from different industries, and they're
yes.
posting that whether this will be used in marketing, they're in different automation. So does blockchain has limitation to the industries it can be used, or it is a horizontal across the verticals of the industries?
Yeah, see, the answer for this question is very simple. Everybody knows about barcode or RFID technologies. Okay, this RFID and barcode, what they do, you stick it onto something and then you identify, and that can be used in any industries. Okay, even blockchain also, it is basically it's a distributed ledger which is very highly secure, and then where you can execute a lot of real world applications and then store the information in a safe, secure, immutable manner. So, and these sort of transactions happen in every industry. So, whether it is marketing or whether it is wherever transactions are taking place, wherein there are different parties that are involved, where there is a requirement for replacing a trust with automated platforms. Okay, you can use blockchain. So there is absolutely no limitation to where the blockchain can be actually used, and each and every business is going to be impacted blockchain. I think any amount of information videos are also available on the YouTube, one can see. So there is absolutely I would say you take any business, I can give you how blockchain can be used and how it is going to be used in the future.
Perfect, perfect. So also, sir, the next kind of question that we are actually receiving is
Yeah.
that in India, what is the scope of blockchain considering the recent government regulations and all? So I think sometimes we do confuse blockchain with cryptocurrency,
Currency. Yes,
right?
yes.
So if you can just differentiate a little, and if you can just give a scope as you see being in the industry at the top, right?
Yes.
How do you see people around you at the president, vice president roles, suggesting on this technology?
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, in India, the awareness of blockchain is very limited. And people started looking at blockchain only after Bitcoin price started shooting up. So people, their first exposure to blockchain was, when they started seeing the price of Bitcoin and the news around it, and various information about the exchanges and all these things. And but the problem is that this is a very narrow view of blockchain. As initially when I started talking about Bitcoin, it is just like a light for electricity. Electricity is also used for running machines, running lifts. Okay, it is not just for giving light. Like this blockchain technology, it is used for automating the processes, and improving the efficiencies of organizations across. And so there is something called this enterprise blockchain with its various possibilities of people having their private blockchains, or whether it is having consortium blockchains, promoter-led blockchains. Okay, even governments, NGOs, all this can use blockchain without any cryptocurrency, but dramatically improving the trust in their operations as well as the efficiencies of these operations. So the Indian government, a lot of governments have already started using blockchain. For example, Telangana government, Andhra Pradesh government, they have already used blockchain for storing the information about the various citizens, whether it is land records or whether it is driving licenses. So the blockchain is not just cryptocurrency; it's very small portion. And in future, you will be seeing blockchain applications taking shape in every aspect of our life. So across, and the governments, and will be driven by governments as well as the large enterprises which are looking to leverage this power of this technology. So
Right,
I
right.
think, yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
have to keep in mind.
So, Mr. Srinivas, in continuation to this reference of yours, is it
Yeah,
something that we are seeing that happened 5, 6 years back when Harvard published a case study that data science is going to be one of the most sought after job roles in the world,
yeah,
right? And then nobody believed on it, and suddenly the
correct.
entire data wave struck the internet, right?
Yes,
So, are
yes,
we experiencing that disruptive moment today where we all are talking about how blockchain can be implemented in industries, and
yes.
maybe 5 years down the line we see that people who have studied blockchain and who have actually gained that experience into blockchain are sitting at the helms of organizations, and then everybody is following the wave then after that.
Yeah, actually, see what you said. I mean, data science amazing growth is it has seen in blockchain. It will not take 5 years. It may take only 1 or 2 years, because you're seeing a number of things that are coming together. And for example, even these episodes like PNB issue, or whether it is Facebook issue, every day some new issue, some hacker attack. All these things are actually giving a huge fill up, to the movement of organizations towards blockchain, because blockchain actually can root out corruption, okay, across, and root out all wastages across all the organizations. So if one big organization adopts blockchain in any industry, the rest of the people have to follow, because otherwise they'll be totally outsmarted in their respective field, because of the efficiencies this organization would perhaps be deriving from the various automation, etc. So what would happen is the rate of, not only for blockchain, even the latest other new technologies like IoT, blockchain, okay, analytics, all these things are going to go hand in hand and much faster in the future. And unfortunately, in India, we have not seen so much of traction in the recent past. But now, with a lot of governments leading the charge, and organizations also have, even financial systems, financial organizations have also started looking at it very seriously. They are being through their POCs, and then they will be falling in a line, because they have to fall in line with the whole global financial system. So definitely these things are going very fast. And in India, though there is only a lot of shortage of manpower in not shortage of manpower, there is a lot of shortage of perhaps adoption of blockchain in the enterprises. That is because they are not much educated. The technology people are getting educated and equipped themselves, but the people who are to fund, who are there in the helm in all the organizations, they are not educated. They are not still aware of the power of this. So once that education also takes place, which has started now, if you see the the amount of traction you have in education for blockchain is humongous. Okay, these once they educate themselves, definitely once they realize the importance of blockchain, definitely they will start looking at implementing blockchain projects. That's when the jobs for blockchain technology professionals also would go up. At the
Yeah.
same time, if you look at companies like countries like Singapore, Estonia, or any other, UK, US, there is already a huge shortage of blockchain manpower because those companies have already started adopting blockchain. So if you go to Singapore and just land in Singapore and open the papers, you will find the amount of blockchain jobs that are there is huge. There's no manpower able to handle all these things. So
Right.
whatever happens there, in perhaps it will happen in future because anyway, a lot of jobs are going to be outsourced to India. And of course, India also trails the other leading countries as far as adoption of trends are concerned. So it is an irreversible trend that is happening, as irreversible as this trend towards automation and decentralization and movement towards open source solutions.
Got it. So, sir, last two questions. People, participants have been asking the kind of faculty that you as a program director have built in this program,
Yeah.
right? And since it's a 8 months long program, so will it be, and since it's a very vast subject, so
Yes.
will it be specialists of those subjects or the modules teaching in the program, or how will it be done?
Yeah, so we have people who have running these organizations. Either they are running the organizations offering blockchain solutions to global organizations, okay, or they are working as blockchain leads in organizations like the Big Four, okay, or Deloitte or Cognizant, this sort of companies. So they are running their cutting edge blockchain development companies themselves. Okay, so lot of these big companies are also outsourcing blockchain development to these companies from whom we are taking our faculty. So these people are highly hands-on sort of people and on the edge of in technology as far as blockchain is concerned. And we are of course going to do a lot of it's just not that the amount of learning we do is not just dependent on what faculty teaches. Okay, of course we got the best of the faculty to reach all the topics, but it also depends on how passionate people are. For example, I can give you 4 or 5 books, okay, which if you study well, okay, yourself, you can become perfect in blockchain. Okay, for every topic there is a fantastic global some book that is actually written by a global authority. Okay, so a lot of some of them are Indians as well. So but of course straight away if you read it, you may take 3-4 years. Okay, but if you are taught by leading technologists, you also having ability to interact with them and clarify all their doubts. Okay, ask questions and then read these books and then again come back to the faculty with the questions and again get them clarified. You can do it much faster. But a lot, 75%, I would say the bonus also depends on how much interested the students are and how much they are interested in learning and about this. That is how even the current the faculty whom we have selected, when they started, perhaps they were no teachers for them, but they have learned it themselves, hands-on, doing things and learning from the books, etc. Okay, and doing on projects, etc. But they have taken more time, right?
Yeah.
So it is a a 360 degrees approach a student has to take of listening to them, reading books, asking doubts, discussing and working on projects, and even if you have your own projects, trying to see how blockchain can be implemented there and perhaps bringing them to the table here as well.
Right. So yes, very importantly said that every part of the module that is in the program is followed by a hands-on project, which
Right.
helps people. So it's all about the passion that you have in the program and that you can
Exactly.
get into it. Right. So everybody, thank you for this lovely afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for joining us from Chennai. It was really wonderful to be hearing again from you, and to all the participants. We have put in our demo links on the chat. You can always view there and learn more from Mr. Srinivas' videos and like about the program, how it's structured and everything, right? And I hope we were able to answer a lot of questions. We are running a little short of time, but if there is anything that you would like to know more, please write to us. We'll be able to help you out. This is what about it, Mr. Srinivas. So last closing words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr. Srinivas, last anything you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah. I think I really appreciate all the students who are having enthusiasm and passion towards learning this new technology, because they're all the pioneers in the field. What I have come across is all generally the people who have been in this blockchain domain, okay, are the people who have been actually fighting against the tide, against the various regulatory hurdles, etc. Still wanting to learn more and more and do more and more. That is how this field has been growing, and still without proper support, proper resources, etc. So they and still this they have the passion to learn about it and be ahead. So once they complete this, I'm sure they'll be far ahead of the rest of the technology colleagues, and they'll be start a new course for the career as well.
Sure, sir. Thank you everyone
Thank you.
for joining us today. This video will be posted on the YouTube and our Facebook channels. Do follow it up. Thank you, Professor Srinivas. We look forward for more informative sessions from you and a team of experienced faculty in this program. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you everybody. Have a good night.